I don't do very well at a lot of stuff. I like to say that it's kind of like I'm barely treading water. Most of the days I'm barely treading water, right? I'm just kind of dealing with all the shit in my head, whether it be my own ego, whether it be my own made up fears about shit, all that stuff. Like I'm barely treading water. And the good thing is I was calmed down when I was told that just be aware of where your arm is, but don't worry about it. But the thing is, that's the same fucking thing. Because if I'm aware, I'm worrying about it, right? And that kind of segues into, I guess, what this is going to be, because I don't have any fucking idea. But I want to introduce a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, who always talks with me about a lot of this stuff, about being upset, about being sad, about how do we deal with that stuff. And one thing he always said to me that is a useful thing to say is, quote, the daily business of life. He said to me years and years and years ago, I'm not very good at the daily business of life. And I said, I don't know, what do you mean by that? He said, well, I don't know, mail, paying bills, things like that. I don't really get it. And I thought to myself, I don't really get it either. I'm too busy being upset. And then people send these packages or they send these bills to me and I'm supposed to open them and look at them. And then you have to read all this stuff and this minutia, and then you get to it and you're like, oh, I gotta pay this. I'm not gonna do that. I don't know what to do with mail. It should be the theme of the show, but it's not. But I'm here with my buddy Markham, Chris Markham, and he is one of my dear friends. Hey, buddy. And I wanted to have you on tonight to basically just fucking talk with you about, sorry, I'm being mindful of my arm there, about how you feel, what you do. And I know that you and we talk to each other every day, like on chat.
Right.
And you and I both go through these phases where we're really upset.
His family is like this.
Well, I mean, I think...
just not mine.
I think everybody's family is like their family.
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
And I think
but in terms of being sad, I don't know if it was...
Were they outwardly sad, your parents?
No, yeah.
Were they partying a lot, though?
They were, back in the late 70s. And my mom would be like, fuck this! And we'd go to one of our friends' house. And there I am as a child, and I spent a lot of time listening to, my mother and her friends. So listening to women complain about their relationships. And I don't know if that helped me or not.
So do you think then, looking back, of course, you can be like, of course, mom was upset because her and dad were fighting or whatever it may be. How do you think your mom projected her own sadness, upset, frustration? Was it just that way, like, fuck this, and we're going to go over to whoever's house and we're all just going to talk about it?
Well, they would talk about it, and
you would sit
my
there.
own device. And
what would you do? Would you wander around the house?
Read. I would have books to read and just kind of hang out and read my books, and they would sit over there and talk. I was, like I say, I was really on my own a lot. I was really to my own things.
But
I
never...
don't know about sadness in that.
Okay. So, when did you start getting sad?
Well, let me tell you.
Yes.
Later in grade school, I guess once you start to really get into the social strata of things, and it was a small town, Harrisburg, Illinois, 11,000 people at that time. Now it's maybe around 10. But everybody knew each other from kindergarten up, but at the time, when you're little kids, it didn't matter. But then when you got to 5th, 6th, 7th grade, then things start to close, and you start to realize, somebody drops you off, what kind of car it is, or if people start to talk about it, or that kind of a thing.
You start you just start to notice the material things.
Right.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that.
Was it in a union?
He was a union. He worked at a grocery store. He was started out as a bagger when he was like 16.
Those dudes who sit at the end and like bag groceries.
Bag groceries. But then, he worked there for 21 years. So at the end, he was, manager of the store, assistant manager of the store, and we were trading our cars in every few years. We went to Disney World. We went to go on a trip.
So you had the American dream.
Sure.
We're going to trade the car in a couple of years. We're going to do our 2 weeks vacation in the summer. Dad's going to work.
We're playing in the back of the station wagon.
Sure. You and Jeff?
Yeah.
Your brother Jeff?
Sure.
And then
life, like Mom and Dad were doing their thing. And I would watch television like crazy. Like that. I had a television from as long as I can remember. It was
obsessed with TV.
Little 15-inch black and white.
Obsessed.
Right.
You know every show that's ever been on.
Well, I don't know about that.
Since the 70s, at least.
But yeah, I watched a lot of television.
Yeah.
And, like Family Affair, like some of these oldies. And I would watch how the people reacted or acted. So that when I went to a friend's house, I would know how to act. Or I would know what to do. And I guess there was some sadness in that. There was some sadness in that.
Were you, when you would go to a friend's house and you would see but when you would see the families, would you be sad and say, why do I have to react the way I saw on TV just to feel like I fit in here? Why isn't this at home?
I don't know if I was thinking that at the time, but I mean, there was some, looking back, there was probably some sadness in that. Just kind of more of oh, it's really nice here. I'd like to stay here. But I gotta go to my house now. Okay. and whatever. But I would have to know how to act when I was there to not bring attention onto myself.
You ever felt that way, War?
I am sad every day, all day, at my work.
Actually sad.
Pretty sad. There is a undercurrent of sadness at all times.
Why is that?
And I'll tell you why that is.
Okay.
Because of, I've had that background. I, for whatever reason, chose theater as a degree, even though that I probably had the intellect or abilities to do something else, something that made money. But my parents were never really into it. And so they were always just like, oh, whatever you want. Oh, do what makes you happy, kid. Kid, just do whatever makes you happy. Whatever you want to do, son. I'm proud of you. And it's like, yeah, whatever you want, kid. Yeah, hell, do it.
And what did they say when you got
It just seems like there's always just hoops. And if you jump through the hoops, then you can get what you want. If you want to be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, and you have the intellect or the abilities, then all you have to do is, if somebody just shows you where those hoops are and you can just jump through, I go get this degree and I spend these years doing this and blah, blah, blah.
So when was the last time somebody showed you a hoop?
I've never had a hoop. I have been wandering the desert my whole life, and every once in a while I might run into one. Like when stuff in such a way. I mean, look, I got a big fucking white beard, and I tend to dress a certain way, or when I'm out.
Yeah.
Like flashy, like embroidered, like Western shirts.
Yeah.
And just hats. Just try to, so you're not looking at me.
You're looking
like
at
you're looking
at
the costume that I put on, the character that I'm trying to portray at the moment.
Do you ever, when you're out, because I've been out with you hundreds, I don't belong here, I'm upset, shouldn't be here, anything like that?
Sure.
I feel that way a lot. Sometimes when I'm drunk, I feel I want to be quiet.
The older I get, the more that is. And the more that I have let myself I say about my work and I talk about my work because I came here as a theater graduate to pursue live theater and maybe more. And now I'm a tax processor at an accounting firm. I didn't move to Chicago to do that. I didn't come here to just do some grunt office work. I want more than that.
Why do you think you're...
And I can't get more than that. I don't know what to do.
Really upset about something. I get real defensive, and I can't think things through clearly, and so I kind of lash out at other people, and it's not who I am, but I'm a pretty intense person, and it comes out as something very realistic, I think. So I guess the reason I'm asking is I don't want to be alone, right? That's the whole reason I'm doing this show. I guess I don't want anybody to feel alone when they have this. So when
girls kind of got together and there was like sex stuff happening and it was a big horrible mess of a thing. I had no idea about it because nobody wanted to get into that with me.
Wait,
or I just wasn't part of that thing. No, they were like out in the grounds. Like there was a plan, like everybody like, hey, at 11 o'clock at this time, let's go sneak out. But I wasn't part of this plan.
used to what you and I used to say to each other in college.
We are
We are the shit, and
and
we
we are
are
shit.
shit.
Yeah, we are and are the shit.
Yes,
Yeah, we would think that. Yeah,
and,
that's
and,
true.
and
And it's kind of a
and it's a weird thing because
sine curve. Like I'm the shit. I am shit.
you take
I'm
your
the shit.
own self-loathing and try to take it and say, well, I'm going to take this and save this other person, and that will make me feel better. But I think what you're doing, at least in my experience, is what you don't know you're doing is you're just putting your own shit on that person. And you're wanting them to be like, praise me. And they're like, I got enough shit, man. Thanks for helping me out.
I was kind of just in my head a lot with the sadness.
Yeah.
When I could just have the sadness behind and just present. And I was trying to just be more cheerful most of the time and just being
And the sadness
I'm
just
just
kind of
that, I'm
receded.
just that dude. I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
So many times people would be like, I'd be spending time with them and really trying to listen to them and really trying to relate to them. And they would catch in on this. And then they'd say, oh, you remind me of somebody that they loved in their life. Oh, you remind me of my cousin Jim.
Or Giovanna Ribisi.
Oh, you remind me of, yeah, for you. But oh, you're like my Uncle Joe. Oh, or you're just like this person, like somebody that they liked a lot.
Yeah. Hard.
I hate it. I was delivering pizzas and champagne in a car that the window was all smashed out and the door wouldn't close. You had to hold it closed if you were turning right. And in the wintertime, the snow would just blow in, and I would just like swipe it out and just keep delivering pizzas in it.
So wait a minute. So and not to push too hard. I mean, like this isn't like nostalgia looking back. This is because I look back on a lot of times in my life, and I'm like, oh, that's when I had it right. That's when it was good. That's bullshit, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying this is bullshit, but was it? Are you looking back in rose-colored glasses?
Oh, absolutely. No. What was going on then when all that shit was going on? In the moment, I can remember it being odd. No, in the moment, it was great.
You were loving it.
But in hindsight, I was doing nothing. What was that? What was that guy? I was living in a guy's closet. Here's my, rich dad, poor dad. I'm the poor dad. I don't have any ideas about money, right? And so people's always like, oh, retirement. 401k, you got to push all the money.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me is like, well, yeah, I dig that. But if I don't have any money now so that I can be okay later, that sucks. Well, I'm going to have some money and then be 80 years old and not be able to get around. Why don't I spend some of that money now and go on a cruise or something and enjoy myself when I'm like in my 30s and can really, really dig it. So there's always this thing of, I don't know what I'm doing. But part of me is like, well, maybe I should just, what's the point?
Yeah,
what's the point of working like I do and the job that I hate if I can't have some fun and enjoy myself?
But don't you get fucked up about the job that you have and you feel like you're wasting your time?
Absolutely right.
So
right now I'm making more than I've ever had.
Right.
Which still isn't,
But you're making good enough money.
But it's okay. Yeah.
And so you're doing that, but you're also like, okay, I'm gonna spend my money.
I just started a 401k after 12 years of work.
High five.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a 401k.
Yeah,
I don't know what it means, but I'm happy about it.
Right. I just started like a few months ago.
About percentages.
And I should have been doing it the whole time.
What? And is this go back to that daily business of life thing?
Yeah, and it goes back to that, and it goes back to, well, I'm not going, it's like you put a bucket of food in front of a dog and they'll eat till they founder because they don't know when the next food is going to be there. And that's
but even after you've done it over and over again, does this go back to the poor kid? And
Aristotle, give me a boy until he's 7, I'll give you the man.
Yeah.
And so when your childhood, and I've only started to really kind of think about my childhood and consider it and how it has affected who I am now.
Can Aristotle?
I don't know how much I look like my dad, but I didn't have much of a relationship.
Even as
he was a third shift coal miner. He was a coal miner and then worked third shift, and so he slept most of the days. And his new wife wasn't really a big fan.
Wasn't a big fan of you.
Right.
What?
And so there wasn't a lot going on there. And my mom says that all the time.
My parents.
I did my best.
Yeah.
Really? If that was your best?
Yeah.
God damn, I'd hate to see your worst. That was your best. I mean, I'm kind of free and open, but you and your father, you had a kind of a rough
Dad and I
go
didn't
over
talk.
here a little bit there.
Dad
and your
and I
dad's
didn't-
like didn't come to see things, didn't really have much to do with.
Well, no. That's been later. Dad and I didn't talk much my first 8 years. I got in trouble for crying at school. I cried because the kid didn't have markers. This is the special liberal snowflake edition for the undergrads. No, Dad and I didn't talk. We talked about baseball a little bit, and that was it. And I specifically remember coming home the day. Turned out the day that he left, and I was walking up to wash my hands after riding bikes with a friend of mine, and he just said to me, he never talked to me. He just said to me, "Hey, don't you want to say hi to your dad?" I remember thinking, "What the fuck?" Well, maybe not those words, but I remember thinking, "What? You never say anything to me." And I just kind of dutifully walked over to him, and he gave me a hug. I said, "This is weird," and I gave him a hug, like around him, and I remember thinking to myself, "This feels like crying." I just wanted to not do it anymore, right? So then I left again and rode my bike, and I came back home, and like all the lights were out. It's very dramatic. All the lights were out, and my sister and my mom were in one corner, and they were very upset. And my dad was just sitting in the same chair, and he was just staring straight ahead. And that's the night we, found out he was gonna leave, and I don't know. I tell it now. It sounds to me. I want it to sound pedestrian, but it's very visceral.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, like, you would do your best, just as my parents did their best, and my parents continue to do their best. My mom sent a text to my sister and I today, just a bullshit text about how well we were doing. Then she cursed, and it was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing.
And your mom has Bitmoji.
My mom is the best. Listen to me. The best fucking Bitmoji on the planet.
Linda's Bitmoji.
Dude, the best. I've showed it to you many times.
I did like a math camp with some girls from Harrisburg.
Oh, he was cool.
And then I guess they told him that I was going to be at school and stuff. So he was like, "Oh, you're so-and-so. Oh, well, then you know these people." And then we got to talking and stuff, and they were laughing. And then he says, and I am 15 years old at this time, and I am 46 now. And he said, "Oh, you're just like they said. Really big, really funny, and really ugly." And that, like just the, "Oh, you're just like it." Like his, just outwardly, just openly saying this. I, till the day I die, I will be really ugly. Like physically ugly, like to look at. There's nothing that can ever be said or happen to me that will make me feel any other way than that I am
Just because of that
really ugly.
that moment.
Because that moment.
Yeah.
And that guy, he's just like so open. He's like, "Oh, you're just like they said."
And
Like that was just so natural. Of course that you're so ugly.
and it makes me sad because I think we all, at one time or another, have done that to somebody else and not realized it.